statement that there was 105 banks in the United States that are now working with legal state marijuana companies. So my question is, legislatively, is there anything that's being done in Congress right now to protect banks from taking in legal marijuana money? Because clearly the banks want to be doing that business and they're afraid of federal legislative action.
Well, as I said, we're going to look for more regulatory clarity from the administration, and we're going to continue to press legislatively. It was, I think, very significant that a majority of the House said, don't interfere with this. So we're not there yet, but I think that each day that passes with the strength of your enterprises, with the ever so slight shift in public opinion, and the fact that people understand that working with you is profitable, and that there's a whole industry here of reputable people who just want to play by the rules. I think this is part of a process that's much too slow for you, I know, but all of us need to continue to speak out, to push the clarification, and support the enterprises that do this. You know, one of the things that I am finding, I come home to Portland every week to just kind of do my job and be connected with the people I represent. And so I'll be in law firms or real estate firms or churches or, you know, these meetings. I am amazed at the number of times business people want clarification. They see a business opportunity. They want to know if they can rent their property to these emerging businesses. They want to know if there's an opportunity for expansion. They want to know if they're going to get caught up in this. In real estate, in banking, and people who are looking at marketing, there's a whole range of folks who have had their eyes open to the economic opportunities. And I think working with them builds this momentum, because the court of public opinion, I think, is our strongest ally on this.
Just to follow up, is there anything legislatively being done to protect the banks so that they get a level of comfort? So
on the matrix that I passed out, you'll see there's legislation that I've co-sponsored that's being led by Denny Heck from Washington and Ed Perlmutter from Colorado, who they were some of the first people who signed up on our little working group in the matrix, and they've been pushing this at every opportunity. They are on the Financial Services Committee. So I've got like the 280E because I'm on the Ways and Means Committee. That's tax jurisdiction. They're on financial services. And so they're there at every opportunity with hearings. They're there talking to the administration. We've been trying to move the legislation, and then we're looking for opportunities when vehicles come through. So, yes.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Congressman. I want to say first, thank you so much for taking the time today to come down here and speak with us all. My question...
you want to tell me who you are and where you're from?
My name's Dan. I'm from Pennsylvania. I just moved to Oregon recently, and I'm a cannabis consumer and OMP patient. My question for you relates to the federal government's approach on hemp. I read a story recently that there are some brothers in Colorado who went on growing a high CBD strain of hemp, classifying it as hemp, and then shipping that product around the country. What are the federal implications of that?
Yeah. Well, the federal government is schizophrenic about hemp, but we're being able to clarify that on a couple of levels. One, I mentioned these amendments that passed overwhelmingly in the Farm Bill and two appropriations bills. Second, there has been guidance, that has been kind of clarified that hemp cultivation in the states that have provided for it is not where the federal government is going to concentrate. I mean, this is the signal that they've sent. And so we've got states that are actively moving forward. We're doing it here in Oregon. So we've got 17 states that have set the stage. We've got 3 of them that are moving forward. And I think that it is clear that this is not only not a priority, for federal drug enforcement, but I think people are just going to accept it. We're 98% there. We're not going to give up until we clarify it legislatively, but I have no qualms whatsoever in advising my constituents to go ahead, work with the State Department of Agriculture. Let's see if we can get a crop in next year. It's insane that we have perfectly legal hemp products that are sustainable, that are amazingly valuable. People love them. It's just that Oregon farmers and ranchers can't grow it. We got to import it from Canada or Latin America or Europe. That's insane. And I think we've turned that corner.
Thank you so very much for your service. That's the most important thing I have to say, but I want to digress back to banking. I am Oregonian for life from Cottage Grove, Oregon, and I represent Matthew's Pen Club. 2 weeks ago, U.S. Bank closed 8 of my checking accounts. I have several businesses, and not one of them is marijuana. And then I went and opened 4 accounts with different banks. Chase said, I will not accept any cash deposits whatsoever. Whatsoever. I have rental accounts. I don't know how my renters pay. And they won't take cash. And that's just one part of what's going on in banking. So we really are in a conundrum, and we really need it fixed fast. And I appreciate you paying attention. Take this back to Washington because I am a large victim.
It is, it's an area that, as I say, drives me crazy. We're working with the administration. One of the things that I would love to see happen, and something that we might be able to work with the industry here, I would like to see some conversation with people in the credit union sector. Credit unions tend to be a little more flexible. They are, as you know, they're organized with members who have a common bound with a community or an employer, and they are not profit-making. Some of them are very big, some of them are very small. But I think they have tended to be a little more responsive, and they're very interested, I know, in dealing with small business. So it would be fun to engage in some organized conversations with them about what they need, what they can do. Some of them probably don't want to, I know some financial institutions don't want to acknowledge it because they're doing some things and kind of looking the other way, and they don't want to put the spotlight on it. But I think we need to put the spotlight on the problem. I think we need to work with credit unions and smaller institutions, community banks, sort through what they need, what they want, not naming names and being specific, but getting down to what will work for them going forward, what clarification they need, what problems are they encountering and people in the industry. Because I think the more that we can put a spotlight on that, talk about it, because the dam is going to break. We want to be ready for it. We want to reward the people who are willing to take a step to work with you. The same way that these realtors and brokers talk to me wondering about what's going to be the opportunities. They're starting to see the handwriting on the wall. They're starting to see this is going to be part of the business landscape. They're starting to see that there's a lot of money to be made, and there's nothing wrong with that. So we need to be working with people like that to clarify, to raise comfort, identify real problems, and then try and get more of put a face on the problem so that we have more impact with politicians and regulators.
Thank you very much. My name is Todd Arkley. I'm a CPA from Seattle. And so thank you very much. I'm always looking at the bills that you're sponsoring. First of all, on the banking issue, in Washington State, we have 3 credit unions now that are publicly taking deposits. So it's a good progress forward. My question for you on the tax issue, especially 280E, which is a real pain for my clients. Strategically, are you focusing more on trying to reform the tax code, the 280E tax code, or simply getting it off the listing of as a Schedule I controlled substance? Is there a sense that you find, are there multiple strategies, or is there one way that seems to be a better way to go forward to change that?
Great question. And what I hope is illustrated with the matrix that I've distributed, with all the bills, and with the multiple approaches to dealing with regulation, to deal with changing the scheduling. We need an all of the above strategy. I don't know what's going to happen first, but either approach works. So if we've got a tax vehicle that is moving through Congress in a lame duck session, which means after the election, although some of them are pretty lame ducks, and more than 10% of these people are not coming back to Congress at all, that if we can attach this as kind of a minor technical amendment without a lot of fanfare, I'm happy to do it. I think it's very unlikely we will have standalone legislation dealing with 280E unless we have a chair who, well, it's unlikely that we're going to have standalone legislation. Not impossible, but unlikely. But the other approach in terms of dealing with changing the marijuana classification from Schedule I, which is insane, patently false on its face, and has all sorts of unintended consequences for taxation and for banking regulation. And again, it can be done at the initiative of the president. It doesn't require legislation, it doesn't require being approved. He can just change it, and which I would hope would be part of his legacy. But we're going on both. I don't care which one. Ultimately, we need to do both of them.
Congressman, I want to thank you for being here. Your presence here is greatly appreciated by all of us. My name is Ted Rowe. I'm an attorney and law professor here in Portland. I'm also a former candidate for Oregon State House District 41. And I'm also president of Cascade Mountain High. I have two questions for you. The first is, what do you believe is the likelihood of passage and ultimate enactment of HR 2652, the Marijuana Business Access to Banking Act? And the second is a question I get frequently in my law practice, which is federal employees and federally regulated industries, how can we resolve and remedy legalization at the state level while prohibiting usage for employees in those sectors?
Rephrase the second part of your question.
The fact that we can have legalization at the state level, yet still prohibit usage by, for example, pilots regulated by the FAA.
Well, first of all our legalization initiatives keep intact the ability of employers to have drug-free workplace. Part of the problem we have now, and it was illustrated on the front page of the New York Times earlier this week, with the poor gentleman, paraplegic, fired for using medical marijuana after hours for his back spasms. The problem is that the head in the sand attitude about marijuana has prevented us from doing appropriate research and product development. Because what we're concerned about is not a trace of TCH, but impairment. Impairment. So if we had better tests that would deal whether or not somebody is impaired, I don't think that gentleman was probably impaired from what I heard from. We can move beyond this. Nobody prohibits somebody in their off hours from smoking cigarettes, having a glass of wine with dinner, and what we need to do is be able to more appropriately calibrate impairment. And that's one of the things that I'm looking forward to our being able to do. And it spills over to things like drugged driving. I've been meeting with human resource managers here in Oregon just to kind of talk through how they will handle it going forward. And it's not just if our Measure 91 passes. About a quarter of the people in the Portland metropolitan area live in a state where adult marijuana is legal. So these are things, access to medical marijuana and infringing on people's rights. We're going to be developing it, but in the short term, there's not going to be any change, and I'm not certain that there should be in terms of the rules for the drug-free workplace. I want to figure out how we deal with the issue of impairment, and then we can go to the next stage. You asked about 2652, and I tried to explain that we're working on that in the Financial Services Committee. It's being advocated and led by people from Colorado and Washington who are on the right committee. We have a number of people that support it. We're going to beat that drum every chance we get. I do think that this is one where we can get more help from the administration for clarification. And I can't think of a more compelling area to make a change than enabling people to not be all cash enterprises. So we ought to be able to get some, I think we're going to make some progress on that sooner rather than later. And passage of the measure in Oregon in the fall is one of the ways to call that question.
So we have time for just one more question for the congressman. It's going to be this gentleman right here. And to make up for a little time, because we started late, we're actually not going to take that 15-minute break. We're going to roll right into our next presentation, and then we'll hit lunch right afterwards.
Thank you, Congressman. Steve Parabee from the Buckeye State. That's Ohio, in case you're wondering. Question for regarding more of a political twist to this. Aside from the revenues and taxes that legalization can generate for a state, do you see any conservative legislatures and or conservative states moving to put this on a ballot for a vote in 14 or 15 in order to keep it off of a ballot in 16 for fear that a vote for marijuana is a vote for a Democrat president?
Great point. And in fact, if I was a Republican strategist from, say, Ohio, I would put it on the ballot in 2015, because if it's on the ballot in Ohio in 2016, it's going to boost the turnout 1 or 2, maybe 3% from people who might otherwise stay home, and if they vote on this, they'll vote at the top of the ticket, and it'll probably be good for Democrats. It's not a coincidence that we've got medical marijuana on the ballot in Florida with 750,000 signatures. It's going to make a big difference there in the gubernatorial race. But as a practical matter, most of the Republican strategists recoil at the prospect of these campaigns at all. And it puts them, many of them, on the wrong side of history. They're not embracing it. It is growing in Congress, as I say. We've had maybe overall 60 Republicans in the House who've broken ranks, but that's nowhere near a majority, and it's not where the conventional wisdom, the Koch brothers are not going to be putting marijuana ballot measures on the ballot anytime soon, I think. through the initiative process. And while I think it's good for Democrats, I will just say I welcome it in any state at any time, because I want to get this issue behind us. And if we all do our jobs, we'll have at least 2 more states that have legalized adult use. We will elect a president in 2016 who will be explicit in his or her support. We will have a momentum building in Congress that will be unstoppable for things